Mook Boy vs. Armstrong, the Mogul vs. the Martyr. From Ballin Baby to ultimate betrayal. As a native Floridian and a lover of history, I've always wondered why 15 years later the void of good vibes and cultural unity in Orlando rap culture has yet to be filled. With the landscapes of the streets changing one news story at a time, I think we all deserve to know how Mook Boy and Armstrong became the Gucci Mane and Young Jeezy of Orlando. I'm Orange, and welcome to the archive. The tragedy of it all started with the union. Mook and Strong both emerged from West Orlando in the Richmond Heights neighborhood. Strong technically claims Liston Court. If you're not aware of Liston Court, it's in Richmond Heights. The music they went on to create was representative of the people and not some political image that was forced by mainstream media like Disney. Ballin Baby hit the streets like a cultural event. If you was outside 15 years ago and didn't go to a Mook or Strong concert, you was just straight up lame as hell. I believe it was my freshman year of high school when they went on that legendary run, and before I could make it to my own prom night, songs like Glock 45 was going viral. We'll get there eventually. Something went wrong, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. Let's start with Mook, aka Demetrius Hardy, because that's his government. I've heard that he has a magnetic presence. So much so that his future rival would set eyes on him even as a youth. Armstrong has famously said that Mook was a dancer, even though I didn't find any footage of this. But I take that as just like a brotherly nudge, to be honest. It's really an admiration of talent. I'm going to try to frame this thing you do in a certain way because I can't pull it off, but I'll move on. It wasn't until 2012, after a few trips up the road to the FDOC, that King Titus was stamped Mook Boy, with his debut album solidifying him as potentially the best rapper out of the city. Just what exactly would that cost him? Let's step away from the music. Mook Boy realized that prison time was the highest political cost the streets could extract. Spoken openly about serving a cumulative total of 7.5 years across 3 bids behind bars, but instead of breaking him, incarceration became his business school. The core of the Mogul's political genius is simple: economic sovereignty. Mook Boy's proof of power isn't a jail sentence, it's a receipt. He became the gold standard for independent Florida artists. He hammered home the mandate of owning your own masters and breaking generational curses through his label Goon Music Group, aka FGMG. You have to remember that in 2012, this was a defiant act against the broader music industry, but it was also a direct challenge into the street mentality. This was a time when all people wanted to do was sign a deal, yet Mook saw it different. He showed the youth of the West Side a different kind of hustle, a way to monetize the narrative without signing away their future to the very system designed to contain them. We'll see how those that didn't listen ended up. The King Titus series was a blueprint. In the street political sphere, compromise is treason, and the Mogul's commitment to his business was seen by some as compromise to the streets that birthed him. Mook Boy's ability to stay free and build an empire was viewed by the purists not as a victory, but as a potential violation. Mook's success placed him above the fray, but it also made him vulnerable to the ultimate charge, valuing the business over the brotherhood. This vulnerability was the weapon his childhood comrade Armstrong would eventually wield. This brings us to the other half of the split. The mirror Mook Boy needed, the rival he couldn't escape. To fully archive this tragedy, we must not understand the man who stood against the Mogul's empire, the unrelenting voice of the streets, Armstrong, the Martyr. If Mook Boy's doctrine was to conquer the system through business, Armstrong's doctrine was to survive it through pure, uncut truth. The story starts where the struggle is literal. Again, Strong comes straight out of Richmond Heights neighborhood, specifically Liston Court, sharing the same soil as his future adversary, but Armstrong literally carried the physical scars of his street in his very name. His moniker isn't derived from a mixtape or a bank robber crew. It was a consequence. Armstrong took his name from an incident that permanently limited the motion in his right arm. He's a living archive of the street's peril. A martyr who survived the violence that took so many others. For the purists, he was the voice that paid the price up front. Strong's path into music was the opposite of Mook's calculated climb. Music started as a hobby while his full-time gig was the focus. The law eventually claimed him for his entrepreneurial efforts, and he went to prison on charges stemming from '07. The period of incarceration, roughly 4 years, did not silence him. While Armstrong was behind bars, his music circulated, and his name swelled to legendary status in the 407. His time served became part of the political legitimacy of the Martyr, a testament to the ultimate price paid for the street life he rapped about. Armstrong's sound, best heard on anthems like 645, is the counter-narrative to Orlando's entire manufactured image. He famously stated that the people who go to Disney World never really make it into the heart of the city. He positioned himself as an uncompromising voice of the community, struggling with murders, drugs, and institutional indifference. He is the grisly storyteller of Southern legends, specializing in tempering his street reality with social awareness. His goal wasn't just to make money, but to be a roadmap for his fans, a promise to keep it all the way real forever, documenting the street life, its cost, and the harsh reality of the survival. In the eyes of the West Side purists, if Mook Boy represented the smart way out, Armstrong represented the only honest way through. The martyrs, by definition, must adhere to a code higher than the law. And for Armstrong, that code became the ultimate liability. His credibility, his entire political platform, rested on the idea that he paid the price and never talked. After the friendship with Mook Boy fractured, a devastating political weapon was deployed by an associate, rapper D-Boy. Glock 45 circulated faster than anything I had ever seen, featuring a snippet of alleged Armstrong interrogation audio. For the street purists who revered Armstrong, this was more than a diss track. It was a political assassination. The implication that the martyr had cooperated with law enforcement instantly shattered his entire public persona. It permanently eroded the cultural energy that defined his early success. The ultimate consequence was a complete inversion of their political standards. Armstrong's entire legacy was built on paying the price, while Mook's was built on avoiding it. Yet, in the eyes of the street court, the Mogul's complex compromises over business seemed minor compared to the martyr's alleged betrayal of the code. The Mogul's rise to wealth and sovereignty was forever shadowed by the martyr's fall from grace. The void was created not by a disagreement, but by a wound that the street code dictates can never heal. So, the archive is open. We're seeing how Mook Boy, the Mogul, built an empire of economic sovereignty from the rubble of incarceration, proving that ownership is the ultimate exit from the trap. And we're seeing how Armstrong, the martyr, paid the physical price for his authenticity and only have his political credibility stripped by the ultimate accusation of violating the street's highest code. The answer to the question of why the void has never been filled is simple. The scene fractured by a betrayal that was too big, too public, too ideological. The Mogul's success was deemed a compromise, and the martyr's truth was deemed a lie. The unity of the West Side was the true casualty of this civil war. Mook Boy and Armstrong's 15-year saga is more than Florida rap history. It's the definitive unwritten political history of Orlando. They are the essential legends who defined the city on their own terms, but their story is just the beginning of the archive. The truth is never singular, and the history is only complete when all voices are heard. To the legends who was there, to the original Titus Boys, to D-Boy, to Flay Rock, the Killer Creeper, to the producers, the managers, to everyone who ran the clubs and the blocks that ran the 407. Your truth is vital. Your testimony belongs here. We're building the definitive record of the Orlando street politics. Your perspective isn't just news, it's the missing chapter of our history. If you lived it, if you recorded it, if you survived it, we want to hear your story. Reach out to me at the archive. Your voice is the final piece of the puzzle. Thanks for watching, and good night.